Christopher, thank you so much for joining us today. So just looking at those numbers, 54,600 tourist arrivals in the month of June. And overall, just looking at that number, 0.5% gain there year on year. That's been seen as disappointing. And I suppose doesn't bode well for the full year number and doesn't bode well for the economy. In terms of the numbers there, where we're seeing dropping numbers?
Hi, Samantha. Yeah, the drop in numbers is generally out of Europe. That's down 6% year to date, which is pretty significant for that economy, as European tourists are nearly 60% of those arrivals. So Europe is really the one that's disappointing.
Yeah, as you say, nearly 2/3%, but there are some bright sparks. I suppose the country has been on a mission to go and diversify its income streams and look to attract new markets. Asia standing out. China, just looking at growth there, around 60% growth from Chinese arrivals for the first half, and Africa also a bright spot. So is the economy and is the government being able to attract new visitors at a rate that's quick enough to make up for the drop-off in Europe?
Look, the issue with Asia is that it's only sort of 11% of the market. So what you're trying to do is make up for 60% of the market with that 11%. If you look at Africa and Asia combined, that's roughly a third. So at the moment, that is keeping everything above water. That managed to compensate for the 6% decline so far, and those growth rates are pretty stellar. Africa's growing at about 10%, Asia's growing at nearly 17%, so year to date, and I guess we're looking at best at keeping the market flat year on year for the full year.
How is the tourism sector responding to this? Because in previous years, we saw how the tourism sector was increasing capacity, upgrading hotels. And now, of course, you're seeing the slowdown really starting to hit arrivals. So what is the response from key players in the tourism sector?
Look, it's compounded by this being the low season. So June is the bottom of the low season. You're seeing massive discounting. You saw it in the aftermath of the financial crisis as well. To illustrate the point, there's some 5-star hotels that are being priced below 4-star hotel prices, and that makes it very difficult.
Yeah.
You see, a key issue is that the guys price in euros, and the rupee is quite strong versus the euro. So what you're getting is costs in rupees and revenue in euro, and so when they start discounting as well, then it really hits the revenue line, and your costs are largely fixed. So they're in a bit of a tight spot.
Do you think we're going to see that rupee falling off? Because that would, of course, be a major beneficial factor for the tourism sector, with the margins being able to be improved on the back of that. Because, many are saying that the rupee is overvalued at this point in time, but it still continues to maintain the strength despite the fact that, all the fundamentals point to a weaker currency.
Yeah, I mean, look, one would hope, but the rupee has been strengthening since 2007, and despite a major inflation differential between Europe and Mauritius. So I guess it's anyone's guess, based on normal economic theory, it should, but so far it hasn't.
Let's look at the outlook for the rest of the year. As you say, flat numbers that you're expecting in terms of tourist arrivals. Is the government going to be able to reach that 980,000 target in terms of tourist arrivals for 2012?
Yeah, so that target was set by government at the beginning of the year. To reach that, tourist arrivals are going to have to grow 2.6% over the rest of the next 6 months, and that looks optimistic. I think the only people positive about the euro situation being resolved are the Greeks. So I don't think that we're going to hit that. In terms of the sector and government helping them, government is doing all they can. The key issue for them, though, is that they can't really weaken the euro because they're worried about local inflation.
Yeah.
So there's always two sides to every coin. So what they are doing is they've provided this credit line to the Mauritian banks, and then the banks are going to give relatively cheap loans to the tourism companies. That should help them tick over. But really what we need is Europe to be sorted out, and Africa and Asia to be given enough time to grow. Another key issue is supply constraints in terms of flights to Mauritius, but that you're only really seeing in Asia. And like Air Mauritius has stopped flying to Asia despite making a fanfare about starting that earlier in the year, and it's difficult to get tourists to your shores when they can't fly there.
You need Europe to be sorted out, Christopher. I think that would be a miracle pull right now, the way everything seems at this point in time. But thank you so much for delving into those numbers, and thanks for your insights today. Christopher Blaine joining us from African Alliance Securities.